some ways of using your bobbin with some decorative thread. I have two types of thread here, both are from Wonderful. One is called a Dazzle, and that is a 12 weight, or 8 weight, I think that one is, and this one's the 12 weight, sorry. And this one here is called Glamour. So I'm going to use both these in the bobbin rather than the top. This one being an 8 weight will not go through the top of the machine because it's way too thick. So this is how we get to use these threads. First things first, you're going to need to adjust your bobbin case. So I've opened it up. I actually cleaned out the inside of my little machine here. And this little fella here, this straight screw, is the one we're going to loosen off. So we're going to loosen that lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. So we want to loosen it to the left. And I just take a notice of where it's sitting. So it's almost at 12 o'clock there. And I'm going to go back 1, 2, let me screw over cord, 3, and I reckon that might do it. And that should loosen off the tension in here. Now the reason why we do that, because if you still have your tension tight in here, it will still shred your thread. So you do have to loosen off your tension here. Or you can completely bypass it, but then you might end up with some loopies on the back. So first thing you do is loosen this, and the reason why you make a note of where it is sitting, like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and how many turns to the left you've done, is because you want to get it back to the right spot when you finish, and you'll do it right 3 turns and have it back in that just before 12 o'clock when I finish, and I'll show you how to do that if we've got some time. So the next step is to place it in, of course. Make sure it's in properly. Put my machine back together. And we need an empty bobbin. Now, you might be tempted to actually wind this bobbin up on your machine, but we do this manually. So I get the thread, and I'm going to start with this really bright pink, just so you can see it. And in the top, I've got a really bright green, a fluoro green. And that's so you can see the difference. I'm just going to thread that through that little hole. Did you see that? I'm going to hang on to it, and I'm going to wind, just manually wind it.
Sally Taylor said hello.
Who?
Sally Taylor.
Oh, g'day Sally, how you going? So if you've got any questions, please just ask. Dottie's here with me today, and she's going to be able to relay the questions. So we have it the right way around for you today, so nothing's in reverse. So Dot will actually give me the questions that you ask, so feel free to ask anything you like at any time. So I'm just winding it on, just by hand. Just takes a few minutes. And I won't wind a full bobbin because I'm not going to use a full bobbin. And you can see it's quite squishy. That's okay, and that'll do for what we're going to do. Now, I'm just going to leave that tail there, pop it in my bobbin case, and I'm still putting it through the tension disc because it'll help keep it down. And then my next thing is to, oops, I'll just lower that foot. I'm holding on to the bobbin because I haven't got the case on. I don't want it to go unwinding on me. And I'll just bring that bobbin thread up, move them both out of the way. That's my empty one for the next one. Just put that up there. And I'm ready to go. All right, so that's it. That's ready. I've got my free motion foot on. I'm going to move my needle over to this side just because I like to work in front of the needle. I've got my tension on, free motion tension. Now, what you need to do when you first do something like this, you need to have an area that you've actually stitched already. So I'm going to just show you on here. This here is something I stitched the other day when I was showing how to use these fluoros and what you can make it look like. So if I wanted to now enhance, say, this area here or this one in here with some nice, you know, blingy sort of thread, then if I haven't got this already stitched out here, you're not going to see, I'm not going to be able to see where I need to go. So I'm going to be working upside down. So I know I need to start here and follow that stitch thread along there. And then I'm going to follow that one along there. Okay? And I can figure out where I want to go because I've got it already stitched out. So the idea with any kind of bobbin work is you need to have the design either stitched out or drawn out so that you've got something to follow. So first things first is I'm going to just trim off some of these little darlings because, you know, I do these things in a hurry. Most people who know me don't know that I don't do perfection, I do happiness. Okay, just get rid of some of them. That'll be fine. We're just going to do this little area here, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, so loading it up on my machine, and trust me, you will do this. You'll load it up the right way, which is actually the wrong way. You want to have right side facing down. Okay, then foot down and put your needle down. I'm holding on to my thread because I don't want it to be buried, and I want to actually bring that bobbin up. Now, it can be a little bit hard when you're first doing it, especially if you've got a lot of thread there. So I'm just going to lock that because I've got my finger near the stop start button because most people know I don't use a foot on my machine if I can avoid it. And you bring up the bobbin, okay, nice and neat. Then place them underneath the foot like that. Unlock my machine. I'm just going to manually put that there and go in the down position and just move one step forward. Now, when I first start, because I've already moved one step forward, I can go and move another one. If I go backwards, just do it once because otherwise you're going to get really, really heavy thread underneath, okay? So I'm going to go around this one here and then I'm going to come back to the same place I started, and then come back up here. So any questions so far? Nothing? Okay.
Pauline Rogers is watching.
Okay.
Excuse me.
All right, ready? So hopefully, and I'll just slow down the machine a little. Now, what you do have to watch is that you don't pause too long in one spot. And the reason being is that if you do, you'll end up with a nice big knot of yuckiness underneath. And that being the right side of your quilt will not be very attractive. Okay, so I've done that first one. Now I'm going to come back and do this one. You can probably hear all that noise in the background. I do apologise. My husband's getting a delivery and they're noisy. Okay, and then I'm going to come back to there. Now, don't use your cutoff. That is a big, big no-no because the thread is so thick that it'll probably make your cutoff blade go all blunt and carry on. So just needle up, no knotting off, bring it back, needle down, same spot, foot down, and we're going to bring that thread up. I'm going to just lock my machine again so I don't stitch my finger into it. See if it'll let me do it. It might break. Sometimes it does because it's going through so much thread. No, it's going to break. So I'm just going to do it the easy way. That way, just trim it off. And you'll see, you'll have a nice big tail there. And I'll grab it. Sorry, I'll just move it here and give it a bit of a wiggle. See if I can get it to pull through. If I can't, because it's so thick there, I'll get an actual needle and pull that through. So what you've got there, because I've got the green on the top, it looks like a couching. You can see that? Okay. I don't have a needle with me, so I'll do that later. Oh, actually, no, I don't. No, that's not a needle. So I'll move on to the next thing and show you using it quilting and using the same colour in the top as what the actual bobbin is. So I'll get a thread. There's a 12. Wait, it might be a bit chunky. Oh, here we go. This one might do it. Yeah, that's not too bad. We'll use this one. Still a fluoro, but it'll work. So those threads are from Metler, if you're wondering. They come in a pack of 8, and they're 200 meters per reel, and they are only $20. So if you're after some Metlers, please PM me or comment, and we'll get in touch with you, because they are really super fun to use. Alright. Now, I'm just making sure I've got enough thread in my bobbin. I'm going to trim that off because I can. In a quilt you probably wouldn't. You would like to feed it right through. But that's, you can see using a second colour how you can get that couching look. But it's important, because if you get them too close and then some further apart, to keep them very similar. Alright, so turning it over, I can see where I've been. So I know what space I've got available to me. So I know that I can actually quilt in here. So why not? Let's do some quilting while doing the bobbin work. So I'm just figuring out what I'm going to start. I'm going to start here. Oops, a daisy. I've got to unlock my machine. Needle down and needle up, and bring up that bobbin if I can. If it likes me today. Sometimes they snap. Just depends on how thick the fabric is. There we go. Sorry, my hand's probably in the way. Let's make sure that's pulled in nice and tight. Go back down that hole where I started. Needle down. Trim off that little darling before it gets in my way. Now I've got it started. I'm going to take that step forward just like that, just to get myself away from the start of this so I don't grab it and pull it under. I'm just cleaning up. I thought I'd got one of those, but I missed it. Keeping that tail away. Alright, so let's do some quilting. Again, I'm still going nice and slow. I'm not doing anything fast or fantastic. I'm keeping my rows between, like the distance between rows, a fair distance. Trying not to have them too close together so that we don't create a massive bulk. There's no real plan in this, I'm just sort of stitching. And it is a bit slower than the usual, just because we've got that really thick thread in there. I don't want to go shredding it and causing myself more issues. And any kind of pausing, I like to pause just to get a point in those. If I don't pause that split second, I won't get a point in between those little flower petals. But again, I'm not sitting there for a long period of time because of the bulk of this thread. I'm sort of keeping it moving. And I'm just going to keep going until I run out of bobbin. looks nice on the black, doesn't it? There you go, run out of bobbin. So now I've run out of bobbin, I can cut off. If I cut off while that thick stuff's in the bobbin, I'm going to end up with an awful noise. How's that? There you go. That is using the bobbin. How cool is it? So, and because it's a sample, I can just trim off. You would normally pull that through and tie it off and all that sort of jazz. But that gives you the bobbin work. So it looks pretty fancy. Now you can use variegated threads. Okay, you can use all sorts of things. So I'll pop that down there, and while Dottie is videoing the different textures and stuff, I'm going to swap my threads over and refill my bobbin into a different thread. This one I'm loading up now is a Wonderfeel Glamour. It does actually go through the top of the machine, but my machine sort of doesn't like it going through the top. Some machines will be fine. My other machine likes it, but this one doesn't. The old saying is if it doesn't go in the top of the machine, throw it in the bottom of the machine, in the bobbin. So again, I'm just winding up this, holding on to that. Let's get it a bit tighter. And I'm going to put a bit on there. And I'm going to show you using the same theory, filling up the bobbin with the thread and I'm going to use a different colour in this blue one, maybe a cream or a white, so that you can see what it looks like, and it looks like it's couched, just to show you. Okay, so I've got enough on there. I'm going to drop it in here. Okay. I'm going to grab the grey actually. The grey will look nice, and I'm using a rasant in the top. Okay. So it's a 50 weight thread. Any questions? Anyone got any questions? Nothing yet? Okay. Thread the machine. And I'm just going to hold on to that, put the foot down, and just bring up that bobbin, just making sure that comes up. Just lock my machine so I don't stitch my finger in. Okay, now we're ready to do it again. So you can see that I have already, like I said before, done that as bobbin fill. And I've done it here with bobbin fill with two different colours, and you can see using the same colour compared to using a different colour, but now I'm using a different thread, or two different types of threads. You're going to see what that looks like also, and it really pays to experiment with these things. So let's throw her in here, go back to where we started, and it's a bit scary when you first start doing this. Not seeing the top of your quilt, you tend to think, oh my gosh, you know, what am I going to do to this thing? But once you get past that, I'm just going to stitch before, see if I can bring up that bobbin. Nice. So this bobbin is a little bit thinner than the last one we used, so it's going to come through nicely through the fabric, a bit nicer. Okay, so that's off. So I'm just going to go needle up, and then I'm going to stitch forward a little and stop and take off that little tail, otherwise it'll get in my way. And I can see another tail there, that's going to irritate me. Alrighty, let's continue on. Going to adjust my tension down a little. You can really see that bobbin. And I don't know if you've got these feet. I love them with the genomes because you can screw them up and down with, oh, you can see I'll stop there a bit and I've made a knot. All right, so I can cut this one off because it is a thinner thread than the last one. If you get a knot, trim it off. Yes, you can. Come the other side, trim it off there and start again. So that could be a case of just stopping in one position too long. I'm just watching the clock as well because I do want to make sure I show you how to put this all back together. So needle down, needle up, bring that up. There we go. Now I'm going to start about there. Okay. Come on. That's it. And needle down. Oops, a daisy. I've got a feeling I know. It's going to decide to be a nasty little darling for me while we're live. Gotta love that. There we go. No, it's going to be nasty for me. I reckon I've got to re-thread the bobbin. See, it doesn't just happen to you guys, it happens to us as well. Yeah, there you go. Bobbin's got two ends to it. That won't help. If you ever see that, you need to get rid of it. It's nearly at the end, that's why it's carrying on. So that will not help. And the beauty of this stuff is that you can, because it's not as neat as, say, your normal quilting would be, so you can give it a bit of a trim, like this. You can get in there, give it a bit of a trim, and it'll come out. It's the easiest way to get it out, because it's thick. See? Nice and easy. Let's make sure it's all out on that side. Go. Let's try one more time. I don't want to pull too much out because I don't want to lose all my bobbin. There we go. I've just had a thought. The other reason why it could be doing what it's doing is because the bobbin could be too loose, creating that, oops, got a bit of a bump there, that really, really loose bobbin, which will make it loop up underneath. You'll learn all these things when you have a bit of a play. But like I said, this is a test piece, so I'd like to do a lot of testing of things before I even come anywhere near a quilt. So you can see when I pause too long, it just gets a little bit angry at me. So if you're finding that you're getting that issue, maybe slow your machine down just that little bit more. Just so you've got a little bit more control. Alright, so I'm going to trim that off there. It looks a bit nasty. I'll see what it did on the other side in a minute. Trim that off, that up. Let's see what we've done. Alrighty. Oh, you wouldn't know up there. I'll just trim that off. That's where I stopped. So you can't really see where it sort of stopped and started and carried on, but I'd say it's about here. And in saying that, you can give it a little bit of trim and get rid of it. And in a whole scheme of things, a blind man would love to see it. There we go. There we go. So you can see how using a nice light colour with a really nice vibrant blue is going to, and it's a grey, you can see the tiny little bits of grey. It looks like couching, but it's very, very fine. And that will give you that really nice bling look. So if you want to just bring the camera out a bit, just so you can see the real shine on it. And that's doing bobbin work. Okay, so you can do that with any kind of thing. You can do it with embroidery, you can do it with your quilting, you can do it on cushions, you can do it on all sorts of things. One thing I want to show you before we go is how to put your bobbin back. So, getting your bobbin out first, and I'll just put that back there, grab my screwdriver. And if you look at this, it's still in the same position, but I'm now going to turn it 1, 2, grip on that again, and 3, almost 12 o'clock. I'm going to pop that in there like normal. I'm going to grab a normal bobbin. Not much left on that, but it should still do the trick. I'll put the lid on first. That's all right. Swap that over. Grab me, whoops, a daisy. Grab my, throwing things around, grab my fluoro, yellow, my lello. And I always test before I do any kind of quilting or piecing or anything else, just in case. Bring that through. Excuse me. There. Adjust my tension accordingly. Bobbin in. Excuse me. Your dry throat, talking too much today. That down. Just pop my screwdriver up there, but not away. Excuse me. And I'm going to test on my test piece. So needle down, needle up. Bring up my bobbin. I haven't quite got that bobbin one up yet. There we go. There we are. Ready to go. Got a minute or so to go. Just better go a bit faster if I'm going to free motion. That is beautiful. And that's how you get your bobbin back to normal condition. How cool is that? And isn't this thread awesome? Gotta love mixing up threads. Alrighty, so there you go. So I hope that I helped. I hope that I've created a little bit of inspiration for you to play with some different threads. This one here is called Glamour from Wonderful. This one here is Razzle, and same with this one here up under there. And the fluoro threads, excuse me, are from Metler, and excuse me, a pack of 8 for only $20, and these ones are around about the $13 or $11 a reel. All right, so thank you for joining me. Hope to see you over the weekend. Enjoy your the craft show, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.